My husband passed away on August 15th, 2020. He was a medic in the Navy. I thought I was going to lose my house. That's the only thing I have left of my husband and I, the memories.
I was devastated when I realized that this might have been predatory lending. And I said, you know what? I'm just gonna pay the money. So I paid about $19,800 that night to ensure that this wasn't gonna go any further.
And then they also sent me a letter that I need to pay $63,000.
My bill was $33,000, and they were like, yeah, well, if you don't pay us, then we're gonna put your house in foreclosure immediately.
I understood right then and there that this was the ploy to pretty much get back all the money that they lost in the COVID forbearance plan.
In the wake of COVID-19's onset, the government wanted to get a lot of money out to a lot of people really quickly. And they were worried about people losing their homes, losing their jobs, not being able to pay their mortgages, and going into foreclosure. So they created a program where borrowers could, for a year, or in some cases even more, forego paying their mortgage. But they also said you would have to work out an arrangement with your lender after the fact to pay those arrears that you owed over time.
That program allowed people to put their mortgage payments on pause, and mortgage servicers were mandated to comply. As the COVID forbearance program wound down, people were applying for loan modifications, and the modification itself required a lot of paperwork. People were reporting that they were dealing with glitches and errors and what they felt sometimes was systematic problems.
These sorts of paperwork delays that we encountered were happening to borrowers all across the country. In our reporting, we ended up focusing on borrowers who were military veterans because historically the federal government has put in a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of money to get military veterans into homes and keep them there. Across the U.S., about 4,000 veterans whose mortgages were in the forbearance program lost their homes as of mid-October 2023. Around 6,000 more are in foreclosure, and 34,000 others are marked delinquent. But these figures don't include thousands of borrowers who paid a lump sum, sometimes under duress.
My name is Makeda Young, and I am a major in the North Carolina National Guard. I am a chemical officer. Being a chemical officer consists of chemical, nuclear, biological, and radiological warfare. So basically, I teach soldiers and anybody that's in that area how to defend themselves against chemical weaponry. It's something I knew I was gonna do since I was 13 years old, so as I tell everybody, go guard. I purchased my home in Charlotte, North Carolina in 2018, and I would have to say it was such a momentous occasion because I just got cleared from cancer, and it was something I wanted to do for myself. I am cancer-free, you guys! And it's a beautiful house that sits right in front of Linda Lake, and I knew as soon as I saw it online, I was gonna get it. And I got it at a great price. I mean, it's $162,000. You know, now I can sell it for a lot more, but then that was a big deal and a great price to really start off for my first home. I qualified for the COVID forbearance program because I had actually left active duty to attend school. I did not seek out this program. I was personally asked, you're eligible, why wouldn't we do this for our veterans? So I signed up for the program. My mortgage was through USAA Nation Star, and then my mortgage was actually sold to another company. They did a DBA, or do business as, under Mr. Cooper. After the 12 months came, they said, let's start the modification process. I was like, thank God, I owed about $9,000. This will be an easy thing to pay back over 6 months. After the 3rd month of me applying, I started asking questions. Where's my application? They're like, oh, well, your documents have expired, or we can't find this. Can you resubmit? So I'm uploading into a portal, and then they keep asking me for the same documents over and over again, to the point where it was almost like an automated response and not someone actually looking at my application. I started to notice that something was going really wrong around month 6 when I received my first denial letter for not having provided the appropriate documentation. And slowly but surely, every 30 days, it would kick back with the same message as if it was automated. That's when I knew I had to be in a lot of trouble, because the person that was calling me almost every week to keep me updated kept spinning things like, I don't know what's going on. It's just different because you have renters. I know I needed a lawyer And then once I started reaching out to people to seek representation, that's when I started learning that I wasn't the only one.
My name is Rosie Bennett. I live in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and I'm fighting to keep my house. My husband, his name is James Bennett, and he was a medic in the Navy. Then he was in the Army.
These are when he got the award. He saved the Army $750,000 for saving the money. They gave him $750.
My husband and I, we were living here for 28 years in this home. We loved the neighborhood anyway. And when you come over the bridge and you see the lake, it was just like the European Alps, I said, right there. And it was really, really pretty. So that's why we got stuck here, and we loved it here. Since my husband passed away, I'm just on a fixed income. My mortgage was with Federal Savings Bank and Dover Mule Mortgage Bank. My mortgage should have taken 30 days. It's been going on ever since for almost 3 years now. Well, over 3 years. They were trying to send me the form to fill out. So they sent me this envelope. I opened the envelope and there was just another envelope in there with nothing else. So I didn't know what that was supposed to mean. So I called the company and they said they were going to send me another one, and they never did. They wanted the deed of the house. I sent them the deed, and then they said that's unacceptable. I had to give them the deed with my name only. Well, that couldn't happen because he was on there when we bought the house. So I went to the title company and they gave me an affidavit, which I sent in. When I called and asked them if they received it, they said, yes, we did. A few days later, I get a letter where they said they didn't receive it. So what they did then, they just put a foreclosure on my house.
A lot of the veterans we spoke to who were going through these problems had other troubles they were going through in their lives right then and there. These were all things that were destabilizing in their lives and made them more vulnerable to the sorts of paperwork delays that they were facing.
My name is Monica Ines Rosario, and I'm a retired Army engineer officer. I'm originally from Fayetteville, North Carolina, and I'm a military brat. This is my article that they wrote on me about my journey through cancer. One of my proudest moments in the military was beating cancer. I purchased the home in August of 2019, and I initially had a mortgage with Aspire Mortgage, who then later sold it to Freedom Mortgage. COVID hit, I applied for the loan modification. At the time, I was self-employed and I had a home business, and I was just trying to get that up and running, all while figuring out how to make money during COVID. And it helped me out, being that I started going through a divorce process during that time. The divorce really got messy. Unfortunately, it just left me in a financial hole. So the COVID forbearance was the best decision for me at the time. What was promised to me was that they would just take all the payments that I was supposed to make during that year and forbear them until the end of the loan, which would just extend the loan out 12 payments on the back end. I made sure, at least on a phone call, that I wouldn't have to go through a income verification again. Otherwise, I wouldn't have taken the COVID forbearance at all. They called me. They were just requesting some information from me. They said that they needed in order to do the loan modification, which included tax paperwork for the last year or two, but it was nowhere near tax time. So I hadn't done my taxes yet, and I just never was able to provide it. And then at the same time, going through depression. Depression and responsibility, they're like opposites. So sometimes I know for a fact that I wasn't the most responsible adult with the situation. Anything associated with veterans or the military, our hearts want to believe that we'll benefit the veteran 100%. However, not everything is like that, and mortgage companies, they make you feel special getting a VA loan, but you're just another client to them.
The Department of Veteran Affairs has several roles to play in this case. So one, a VA loan is something that they back, and it is a program to make home ownership more accessible for military service members in the United States. They create their own standards for borrowing, which might be different from the mortgage market at large. So for VA loans, you don't necessarily need as much documentation or as high a salary or as high a credit score in order to qualify. You also don't necessarily need as large of a down payment. For VA loans, you can actually take on 103.3% debt-to-income ratio, which means that the amount that you borrow can be 103% of the home's value.
We do have a commitment to our veterans to ensure that they're being treated fairly and that they're being treated respectfully. If they have those type of issues, we are one of the only agencies, if not the only home loan agency out there that actually answers the phone with subject matter experts. The worst thing a veteran to do is not ask for help. There are a lot of avenues that we can explore, but if you're not raising your hand, you're not answering that phone, you've given up on the process, it's hard for us to help you.
My husband, he didn't want any help actually from anybody, and we put in a request into the Veterans Administration for help, and they denied him.
I think that it is absolutely the responsibility of the VA to ensure that when they do offer programs, that there's some follow through, that they understand each process before they allow it to go before veterans, because ultimately this hurts them. If you're just gonna go back and take the house and take the money anyway, then it's not a benefit that serves me in any way. Through this process, I understood that they were delaying it for so long to the point where one, they thought I was gonna give up and pay, or two, they thought that they could foreclose enough to just do a mass selling of all of these homes and profit marginally.
Oh my gosh, it was just horrible because I didn't have the money. And that was during the time when they raised up the rates of the house, and my house went up to $800,000. They were harassing me this way so they can get the house with the foreclosure and sell it and make a big profit. And that would have been a big profit.
At the very last minute, an investor reached out and I was able to strike a deal so that my house wouldn't go into foreclosure. However, I still had to sell it. The month that I moved out of my home, I weighed like 110 pounds. I'm already a very small person. I can't afford to lose that much weight, but it was a lot all at once.
You won't get anywhere without attorney's help because they will not budge and they will not listen to you. And as soon as you have an attorney, they all of a sudden everything changes. Yeah, I think I'm gonna keep my home.
The reason that I believe I was successful in this process was because I had the finances to pay my debt. I think that that is the primary reason. And then the second reason that I was able to restore my credit was because I was so meticulous with documentation.
1 week after we published our story, the VA requested that all lenders stop foreclosing on veterans for the next 6 months, which would give them time to roll out a new program to help veterans facing foreclosure.
The very basis of this country is to have a home, to issue all the freedom, and to live a happy and healthy life. And the one thing that they told us that they would guarantee us during our service, and that was to honor us, was completely obliterated in a mass haul to take homes. And I'm not a war veteran. There are plenty of people that have lost their legs, lost their lives, lost their sanity, and now they're losing their homes. So I feel lucky to even be able to share this story, but it's those who truly suffered after coming home, and then on top of that, to have mortgage companies take the only thing that they have away from them, and that's a place to sleep at night and to call something their own. That's what it feels like to be actually forgotten and to know that you are forgotten. I will absolutely keep fighting to do what I need to do to make sure that the other veterans at least get the fees or maybe can get their houses back. But it's not fair to the 45, 50-year-old veteran who's been in their house for 25 years, have retired honorably, to lose what they earned. Now that is not fair. That is not something I can stand for. I only do this because those are the people that helped me get to where I'm at, so I at least owe them that. And I wish the companies, honestly, I wish you felt the same way.